Hey there, it's Lacy J, here to ask you to go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, buy yourself some merch, and most importantly, send us a message, a question, fan mail, even hate mail. We'll respond on YouTube. Also, please remember to rate and review the podcast on your favorite app or share it with someone you know who loves Lost. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Season 5, Episode 5 of Lost in My 40s. It's called This Place is Death. It's a Sun and Jin episode, and it's a Derek episode. But first, how's everybody doing this week?
Excellent.
Doing great.
Yay. All right. Ben? Could you update us, please, on what our power rankings look like after episode 4 of season 5?
I can, yeah. And third from the bottom, we had Ron with negative 23 points.
You guys, I had to post on the fucking social media. I posted the worst, and I had to find a picture of a child and put it on there. And I have this awful feeling that he's going to stay right there in third place the whole season. So every week I have to put his face up there. I mean, I guess he just shouldn't suck so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Even the ugly baby wasn't as annoying.
Second
from the bottom is Frogert with negative 29 points.
Uh-huh.
And the bottom of the bottom, we have Charles Widmore with negative 32 points. On the top end of the standings, in third place, we've got the mayor of Islandtown, Hurley, with 20 points. Speaking of all right, we've got Sawyer in second place with 34 points. And leading the pack
all right.
is Dan Faraday with 49 points.
Good for you, Dan. That makes me happy.
His look. I know none of you can see that, but
no, but that's the Dan Faraday shit's going down look.
Yeah, kind of cock your head to the side and look out the corner of your eye, sort of look. Yeah,
and do.
Right. Yeah, that's the sound he would make.
I'm happy to see Dan Faraday in the top. He deserves it. Derek. Would you
Lacy?
mind? Would you mind taking us through This Place is Death?
Sure. So we are in the present off the island, and the episode opens in the second to last scene of episode 4, where we see Sun in her car at the marina. Her phone rings, and when she answers, it's her mother. She tells her she's in LA and will be back tomorrow. Ji Yoon gets on the phone, and Sun tells her that she met a new friend for her named Aaron.
Did you notice, when when the phone rang, she picked it up. It was a picture of her kid, and I was thinking, Jesus, this kid's advanced. I
know
this kid's already calling, a year old or whatever. It's just hey, I'm on it.
It's got to be your mom's cell phone. Why would you have your kid's picture there?
Exactly. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, that
she's
was
one of
kind
those
a
annoying people that every time she takes anything happens, she's like, oh, that reminds me. And she's got to show you a picture of her kid.
Oh, yeah. Social media has encouraged those people.
Oh.
That wasn't a thing back when this show started.
No, I love pictures of kids for sure, but I don't need every picture you've ever taken of your child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. We really hate kids here at Lost in My 40s.
Well, we're all child free for a reason.
I know, isn't that something? All in our 40s, nobody with any kids. I guess we did the right thing because we might hate them.
Well, it's different when it's your kid.
Well, that's
I'll
what
have to take your word for it.
Exactly.
Yep.
You're just saying that because you have an ugly kid. Oh, we're terrible people. All right, Derek.
So After Sun says goodbye to Ji-yeon, she gets out of the car with her gun. We hear the same conversation as we did at the end of episode 4. Kate says, "Why don't you leave me and my son alone?" And again, Ben replies, "Because he's not your son, Kate."
Ow. He really likes to dig that in, doesn't he?
Yep.
But I mean, he does have a point. She did just kind of like take the baby.
Yeah.
My baby.
I stole the baby.
And again, Ben replies, sorry. And this time the scene continues with the sound of Sun's gun cocking, so everyone knows she's serious.
Yeah.
And she says, "Move away, Kate." Jack and Kate are shocked, and Kate wants to know where Aaron is. Sun says he's in the car.
At this point, Kate, she's like, this is the first time I've left my child with you for you to babysit. And you said he was going to be fine because there was, a mini bar and there was Cinemax and all that type of stuff. So the kid was going to be fine. You brought my kid to a fucking hit. That's something you do on the second or third time you're babysitting, not the first time.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, she had the intention to go there and commit murder, and she just like keeps the kid in the backseat of the car. Like, he's gonna see that.
She's rich. She could just have one of her servants or one of her people just look after the kid for a little while she goes and does boom boom. Like, this is
maybe she didn't bring any servants with her. It looked like she was alone in that hotel.
Yeah, she'd hire one.
Yeah. It could be Craigslist. Kid would be totally safe.
Honestly, just go and find anyone on the street and give them money and be like, "Can you watch the kid? I have to go kill somebody."
I know. Yeah. There's times I was on vacation with my parents and the hotel had a babysitter that my parents hired. So
really?
Yeah. It was like New York City one time, and this looks like a fancy hotel.
Fancy hotel, then in New York.
And that was in the
that
80s, late 80s too, so maybe things are different.
That was a long time ago. Now people are like, I don't want my kid babysat by a stranger.
Oh, wow.
You want them to be involved in gunplay, though? I mean,
it might be safer to leave the kid in the car during the hit instead of having a stranger babysit.
I suppose.
I mean, maybe. Gosh, I was talking to somebody the other day about something about parenting, and they were talking about not leaving like a 12-year-old at home alone. And I was like, laugh in Gen X. Like, I was babysitting kids when I was 12.
I remember that term, latchkey kids, back in the day, like when kids would come home from school with no parent home.
Yes, because
we survived.
Yeah, same. When my mom was a single parent, my brother and I were home alone all the time. If I stayed home sick from school, I was like 9 and I stayed home all by myself.
Yeah, man. I was
whole time.
I remember, 6 and 7 years old where I'd stay home. It was just
6 seems a little bit young, but your dad was also like giving you beer when you were 4. So
hell yeah.
I know for certain I was staying home by myself when I was 7 because I remember it in second grade.
Wow. I can remember. I can remember clearly, like 9 is when it started because that's when we moved to Maryland and my mom was a single mom. But if I was homesick, I would just stay home all day by myself. I'd be 9. I'd make my own food. I'd take my own medicine. It's just crazy to me how like young kids have become, or maybe that was just our generations. We were all raised by boomers who didn't give a fuck.
It's also
go
weird.
outside. I don't want to deal with you.
But we survived and we're tougher.
We would go outside for hours and go play in the woods.
Had lawn darts, BB guns.
Man.
Yes. Did I ever tell you
that?
We had a tree house back out in behind. So where we lived when I was between the ages of 9 and 12, we had moved from New York to Maryland, but it was before my mom and my stepdad bought a house together. There were these 3 years, and we lived on this little street that I'm sure it's developed now, but it had like giant woods behind it, and kind of on the other side of the woods they were building houses, and we used to go into the houses while they were being built, and we'd find where the bathrooms were, and we would poop in them because we were awful gross kids. But then we built a tree fort like in that woods as well, and one time we were up went up into, our tree fort, and there was a cooler in there. I think I did tell this on the podcast before, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, and there was a cooler in there, and we found it and brought it back to my mom, and she called the police because it had like bricks of heroin in it.
Holy shit. Why call the police? Sell that shit.
Yeah, no. I don't think I knew it was heroin until later in life even. We just kind of gave it to my mom, and then she was like, don't touch this. And I can't even remember if we were told not to play in the treehouse anymore, because I feel like we did still, which would be weird since there were probably people out there looking for their heroin. Why you would put it in a treehouse, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, it was a large amount of heroin in a small cooler. And
I bet somebody got killed over that.
I feel I feel like we should have been told not to go to the treehouse anymore, but I don't think that happened. So my mom's just like, yeah, heroin, give it to the police. Go ahead, go back out in there and play. Nothing wrong. I mean, we didn't get killed, obviously, but yeah, I'll never forget that. I didn't know what I had, man. I realized I might have just held on to that, sold it later in my rave days.
Next 4 or 5 years would be painless.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking about heroin and pooping in houses. Non-built houses.
Off the rails several times.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Whatever. So back to Lost.
Mm-hmm.
So Son says he's in the car, and then Jack tries to calm the situation down. Son, listen, I know you think you're helping, but before Jack had finished, Son turns to Ben and says, if it wasn't for you, Jen would still be alive. Ben denies killing Jen, but Son insists. So Ben says, no, I didn't. Neither did anyone else, because he's not dead. What? Son claims he's lying, but Ben continues, no, Son, Jen's still alive, and I can prove it.
Wow. Wow.
So it's back on the island, and it's November 17th, 1988. Very exact.
Yes, it's 3 days before my 10th birthday.
Oh.
And 3 days after my...
What, 13th?
13th?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Wow. I know. And to think all of this was going on, and we had no idea.
We had no idea
clue whatsoever about this French chick.
You were probably pooping in the woods.
Actually, you're right. It would have been exactly that age.
She was about 2 months into chasing the dragon at this point, so she doesn't remember much.
That's the whole story. I was doing the heroin and then pooping in the houses. That actually sounds about right. Yeah.
So Jen is on the beach with the French team, and the numbers can be heard through the static of a radio. Jen, confused, confirms this is Danielle is Danielle Rousseau. Danielle says that her group left Tahiti 2 days ago on November 15th. So Jen asks her what year it is, and she says 1988.
All right, I need to get on the phone to my stockbroker immediately.
Yes.
He kind of pulls like a Faraday face too when she says that. Sorry, getting high. Jen's shocked face is like Daniel's serious face.
So Jen wants to go to the beach camp, and the French team is surprised he's been on the island before. Jen asks if they saw a helicopter, and Montaigne says in French, first a boat, then a helicopter. Next thing you know, he'll be talking about a submarine. There was one. So Robert and Montaigne decide the numbers are being broadcast from an antenna not far away. They draw a picture in the sand and ask Jen if there's anything like that on the island. Jen says yes, but he needs to find the helicopter at the beach. They promise to take him there if he takes him to the tower first. So Jen agrees, and Robert gives Danielle a tender kiss. As they start to walk away, Danielle puts her arm on Jen's shoulder and asks who he's hoping to find at the beach, and Jen replies, my wife.
Yeah.
Robert's
hot.
My
wife. I think Robert's
That's what I was thinking too.
Of my wife.
Yeah.
I think Danielle scored herself a babe. Doesn't surprise me though. She's kind of a badass.
So the group is now trekking through the jungle when Danielle doubles over. Robert says this was a bad idea because she's 7 months pregnant, but Danielle says she was just giving a little kick. Robert corrects her that Alexander is a boy.
Wrong.
Robert wants her to rest for a minute and calls to Nadine, who has the canteen. She's nowhere to be seen, so one of the crew goes to look for her. And Montana says, "This is what happens when you bring women. She's probably off chasing a butterfly."
Oh, hell no, you did not
When
just
you said
say
that, it was almost lyrical. It's like, he calls Nadine, who had a canteen. She's nowhere to be seen. Like,
yeah, Montan's kind of a dick.
A little bit.
I mean, he's just monster bait. Fuck him.
Yep.
Dickish misogynist. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I hope someone rips your arm off.
No. Just then, there's a rattling, growling, and cranking can be heard. I think it'd be clanking can be heard. They turn to Jin to ask what the noise is, and Jin says, "Monster."
Yup.
And we go to the lost title screen.
Welcome to the island, bitches. Smoke
Yep.
monster
What a hell
gonna
of a
get you.
thing to hear from this man. Who
Yes, who
barely
just-
speaks English.
Right,
Yeah.
he barely speaks English. You pulled him out of the ocean. Now he's talking about monsters. Yeah, that would be weird.
Helicopters and
You know, that's the thing that hooked me. Season 1, episode 1. I watched that first episode because Matthew Fox was in it. And I loved every minute of it. But when that clickety clanking monster shows up in the last few seconds of the first episode, I was like, yo, this
I
is
thought
my
for
show.
sure they were in like Jurassic Park or something. I thought it was dinosaurs for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we weren't that far removed from like the original Jurassic Park at that point. And, yeah,
Right.
And it did have similar sound effects. Yeah,
And Hurley even said that it sounded like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
or he guessed
Yep.
it was a dinosaur. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're like, no, dinosaurs are all dead.
yeah. This is not Land of the Lost. It's just Lost.
so the group wants to go find Nadine, but Jin warns them not to go towards the sound. Of course, they ignore him, and he reluctantly follows. The group finds Nadine's backpack, and they decide to split up to find her, but suddenly the monster rips up a nearby tree with a very loud roar. The group looks up to search for the source of the noises when Nadine's body is dropped onto the ground from above. Danielle is hysterical and cradles a dead woman's head in her hands. The noises return, and Jin screams, "Run!"
Welp, he
At
knows
the
that
end of every
English word.
paragraph, Jin has a single line.
Yep,
Yes,
monster.
yeah.
Life, monster, run.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. I don't even think we said the lost title screen came after when you
Yeah, he
said
did.
monster.
Yeah, you did.
We did.
Oh, you did?
Or I did, yes.
I don't listen to Derek a lot.
You are high.
Just tune him out.
Yeah. So Robert has to drag Danielle away as the group flees. Montan, leading the group, makes his way to a clearing and turns around, but here's the monster first lurking among the grasses, then looming over him. He tries to stare it down because that would obviously work,
Yeah.
but he's knocked down and dragged through the jungle by his leg. The others catch up to Montan as the monster is about to drag him down a hole. They manage to hold on for a while.
Reminiscent, right? Reminiscent of season
Yeah,
1,
Locke.
Locke and Jack.
Locke.
Yeah.
But
Also,
Locke keeps
all
his
the
arm.
roller coaster type noises that this episode makes is getting me like really excited for March because Ben and I are going to Epcot and Universal Studios for our anniversary. It's gonna be like the first time I've been on roller coaster other than the one at New York and Las Vegas in like decades. I'm so
God,
excited.
yeah, it's been a long time. It's been about 20 years for me because I used to go all the time.
Same.
We
I
rode 'em in
went.
Munich.
Love 'em.
Oh, you're right. We did. We rode, roller coasters at Oktoberfest in Munich. That's true. So that would have been 2016. But again, it's like
Yeah.
a one-off, do a
Yeah.
coaster. It's
Yeah.
been a long time. When I lived near Christie, used to go to Six Flags all the time because
Yeah.
it was close by. And we also had King's Dominion was there. And, late teens, early 20s, I went to theme parks all the time and then moved out here. And there are just none in the Pacific
There are
Northwest.
none. Yeah.
They just
Now,
don't
I used
exist.
to have a season pass to Six Flags here, but like nowadays the wait isn't ridiculous, like hours.
I
Well,
can't even
you know
imagine.
what we did? We paid like basically like double the price it
Oh, the
goes
fast pass.
to get to get the like
It's
fast.
worth it.
I think it's
Yeah.
worth it too because like I might as well just if I have the money, might as well spend the large amount and not spend a day frustrated because I can't get on the things that I want
Yeah,
to
half
get
your time
on.
we'll be waiting and not riding.
Right?
Mhm. Yeah, more
so
than
we
half your
will-
time will be waiting. No thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Just bear in mind that we are all now in our 40s, and roller coasters do tend to jerk you around quite a bit. So you're going to want to bring some pain medicine.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Especially wooden roller coasters bang you around a lot. The metal ones are usually a little smoother. But yeah, those.
Yeah, I'm gonna take anti-inflammatories, and I have a prescription for muscle relaxers. I rarely use, so I'd probably bring that too. But yes, I do imagine I'm going to be more sore than when I went on them in my 20s. Don't ruin it for me, Christy.
No, that's okay, because the next week we'll be relaxing on a beach. So
I know. I'm so excited. I'm going on the most amazing trip, going to Orlando with Ben and doing theme parks. Then we're going to our friend's wedding. Then he's going home. I'm renting a car, driving to the Gulf Coast, staying with a friend from high school that I haven't seen in 30 years for one night, then driving to Miami to meet Christy and 4 other women. And then we're flying to Dominican Republic for 5 days. And then I go home. It's going to be wild. So yeah, I will have come off of the roller coasters and can do nothing but float around in the pool in Dominican Republic. And that's okay with me.
Nice.
This is going to be a long episode. We are just off fucking track.
But between you pooping in places and your vacation plans for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I pooped in the ocean once too when I was a kid.
I did too. I didn't realize that you weren't supposed to do that.
I've peed in the ocean.
Well, when I was a kid and we were in Naples, my grandparents, and we were at this beach called Loudermilk, and it had a bathroom, but it was way on the other end. And I didn't think I could make it. I suddenly had to poop. And I thought for some reason that if I swam out really far and pooped in the ocean, that it would just like sink. But it didn't. It washed ashore and scared a bunch of people. And I
didn't poop in the ocean. I mean,
I didn't confess to it. I did not confess to that until my brother and I were like in our 20s or 30s, maybe. And he was talking about the time someone pooped at the beach. And I admitted it, and that it was me, and he was.
Should have said it was
shocked.
a baby Ruth.
Exactly.
Bill Murray out there sniffing it.
I pooped in a lot of places I shouldn't have when I was a kid. I don't really know what that's about, but
I pooped in the woods myself and got poison ivy because that's what I used to wipe with. Yes, I wiped with it. God,
no, you have poison ivy on your butthole.
Yes, I ended up having to go to the minor emergency and getting a cortisone shot or some kind of shot to get rid of it.
Oh my God!
I'm sitting in class scratching my ass all day. Yeah, it sucks.
Oh my God! You poor thing.
God,
well, I'm super allergic to it. I've had it like 3 times in my life.
I've had poison ivy and poison sumac. Poison sumac used to be back by the heroin treehouse.
I'm not allergic to it.
Lucky. Because it's
it's pretty bad.
Any of the times that I've been exposed to it, I've never gotten it. And I know that I was exposed to it because I was with other kids who ended up having terrible poison ivy rashes. And they're like, why aren't you itching? And I'm like, I guess I'm immune.
Oh, you're like a superhero.
But you can develop those allergies. So I don't want to go walk through a field of it today.
Go poop in the woods and wipe with it. See what happens.
There you go.
Oh my God, you guys! I don't know if this is psychosomatic, but I literally have to poop. So,
all right, let's take a break.
Cue the music.
This is going to be a long episode.
Yep.
Alrighty then.
All right.
That was lovely. Thank you. Shall we?
We shall. So they manage to hold on for a while, but the monster snakes up Montaigne's arm and drags him down with a massive roar and with such force that his arm is severed.
This is what happens when you bring misogynistic assholes on your
So much for looking at butterflies.
Smoke Monster's a feminist.
And so the group is left holding on to it in terror. They collect themselves and stand up just as Montaigne's voice calls from the hole, "Help me, I'm hurt. It's gone, please."
We all float down here.
Going down into that fucking hole.
We all float down here.
I just toss his arm back in there and say, "Here,
Good luck.
Here's something to chew on."
So Robert and another enter the hole, but as Danielle goes to follow, Jen stops her and says, "No, you don't go with baby." Well, at least he said more than 2 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's worried about her being pregnant.
Yeah, it
Jin's
was
a good guy.
definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So Danielle picks up her rifle just as the humming starts and the sky lights up. Jin drops to his knees in pain, and Danielle asks, "What's wrong?" just as the screen turns white. So apparently, if you're not part of the time travel, you don't see it.
Right. Desmond's the only one that has been able to see and hear the change or whatever happens when they jump. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that he did when Dan Faraday was at the back door of the hatch.
Yeah, he definitely did. He
did he? Okay.
Like, yeah, you can see he purposely
reacted to it.
Yeah, because he was looking around and
looked at it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're still on the island, and it's roughly January to February of 1989. And Jin is alone and finds Montan's severed arm decaying. He leaves, climbs a hill, and sees smoke in the distance. So he goes to investigate further and finds a small fire on the beach, but no one is around. He finds Danielle's music box amongst other belongings. He rummages through the bags, and before he finds 2 dead bodies covered with flies and bullet wounds. And they stink, too.
Yeah.
I would think
so. That would probably be the first thing that you notice would be the smell. Jesus,
absolutely.
you don't come across a dead body by sight.
Right.
Yeah, especially one that's been laying out in the sun on the beach near humidity and
it's probably pretty gross.
Yeah, it's going to be bloated and ripe.
Yeah.
Death. Have you ever really smelled like death decaying?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
I had a hamster die and was dead for 3 days because we were on vacation, and a little tiny hamster smelled up the whole fucking house.
Oh, yeah.
The restaurant where Lacy and I worked, mice would die behind heavy equipment or in the like booth seats and you could smell it. It was fucking gross.
It's a unique odor.
So I feel like the grossest experience I ever had with that was when I was in vet tech school and we were learning dentistry because you learn it on cadaver heads. And so everybody gets a frozen dog and cat head and you take them out and you like clean their teeth, but they thaw while you're doing it and they start to smell. Yeah. So we all had, like Vapo Rub on our top lip and stuff, but the whole class we're like learning how to clean teeth as going like, like that was so fucking disgusting.
So I can say that when something smells really fucking disgusting and you don't want to smell it, but you have to be around it, take a little Vicks Vapo Rub and put it under both of your nostrils.
Yeah, literally what I just said.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Christy's not listening to you either.
That was amazing.
My brain, I've got
she's looking at butterflies. That's why.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's what it is.
Looking at I know, Christy. You can like just be like I have MS or whatever. I feel like I've been leaning lately into having ADHD after a year. I'm finding it much easier when I do something dumb. Just be like, sorry, I'm disabled, because nobody can say anything to that. Like, sorry, disabled. And Christy's like, sorry, I have brain damage. I can't help it.
Exactly. I have brain damage. That's a good excuse for shit.
Yeah, sorry. All right, anyways.
Okay,
Never getting through episode 5. What is going on today?
So Jin hears shouting in the distance and sneaks up to find Danielle holding Robert at gunpoint. She's screaming at him to put his gun down, and he's pleading with her, Danielle, don't do this. It's me. She says, you're not Robert. You've changed. The thing that has changed you. You're sick. The monster made you sick. Robert tells her it's not a monster. It's just a security system that guards the temple. He says,
I wonder how he figured that out.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, is it?
Well, she's.
I don't know.
We can talk about that more when the show is over. But she seems to think that he's not himself, that this monster changed him. So if, in fact, he is under some sort of power or sickness due to this monster, then I would assume that, well, that's like the monster speaking through him, or that's like he's been brainwashed, right? Because she's like, it's not you. You're not you. So if he is some sort of other entity, then maybe that entity has that kind of information, or it's lying, or whatever. But she clearly thinks that he's not there. And they sort of like hint at that too when Montan falls down the hole and he's like, it's okay. There's nothing here.
Right.
it feels almost like a body snatcher sort of situation where they're being taken by a force. So I remember when I saw it the first time, that's what I assumed is like, oh fuck, like he's not himself and he is lying maybe. Although we do see Danielle later does she tell Saeed or Kate or something like that? Like it's a security system. So she obviously believes him.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing as monsters, she says.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah.
The smoke monster is just trying to make the island great again.
Oh,
That's right.
Everyone falls under its thrall.
That does not fit with its feminist opinions, but
not at all.
All right.
So Danielle lowers her gun just as Robert cocks his and pulls the trigger. But the gun doesn't fire, so Danielle puts a bullet in his head.
Right between the eyes.
Yep, good shot.
He went off half-cocked.
Ah.
She's stealing your thunder, Ben. Enough. Yeah, exactly. I feel like
Robert just totally lost his head there.
Yep.
The French science teams are like really accurate with rifles, apparently.
Until she turns it on Jin, and then she's like a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Well, one was standing still, and the other one was running. It is much, much, much more difficult to hit a moving target.
Yeah, that's a movie
especially
thing
a
where you
scoped
can just
rifle at a very close range. That's not an actually easy shot to make.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Like I would rather at the range as she was shooting. I'd rather not have a scope. I'd rather just be using iron sights at that range.
I see. All right.
So Jin screams no, and Danielle turns to see him and says, You disappeared. Are you sick too? You're a carrier? So she starts firing at him, and as he's running, another time flash happens. Conveniently.
Yeah, I remember last week, Derek, you thought that the time flashes were getting further apart, but they certainly seem to be quicker this week, don't they?
They do. So we're somewhere in time on the island. Disoriented, Jin falls down a hill. As he's collecting himself, he hears another gun cock behind his head, and a familiar voice says, turn around slowly. And when he does, Sawyer says, Jin? And Jin says, Sawyer?
Yay!
This is a
happy
sweet
moment.
Scene. Yeah, and Sawyer says, well, what do you say? It's really cute.
So they embrace, and Sawyer says he thought Jin died on the boat, and Jin says, no, in water. And the rest of the group arrives, and Jin scans their faces, and he says, where's son? So they're resting by a stream, and Daniel's telling Miles that Jin must have been moving in the water with them through every jump. And Sawyer's trying to explain to Jin what's happening, but he can't understand. So Jin says,
even if he did speak perfect English, that would be hard to wrap your head around.
Right.
Yeah. Let alone
Daniel was explaining to the other people, and they were like, huh?
Yeah.
So Jin says, translate, please, to Charlotte. But Sawyer misinterprets and looks at Miles and says, you heard the man, translate. So Miles says, he's Korean and I'm from Encino.
So hilarious, but also did my brain damaged brain miss something? How does Jin know that Charlotte speaks Korean?
Yeah, because there was the scene where they were going to look for, was it medical supplies, I think, and they went with Sun, and Sun and Jin were talking about her, and she turned around, she
kept
smirked,
smiling.
and
that's right. Yep.
And that when he was like, "You're getting her off this island," and so yep, brain damage again.
Yep.
So the Jin then speaks to Rocky Dennis in Korean, and she looks to Locke and says he wants to know how you're sure his wife is off the island. All Locke says is that he is sure, but none of it will matter if they don't make it to the Orchid. When Jin questions what the Orchid is, Charlotte says in Korean, away off the island, Locke's planning to leave here and bring back all your friends, including your wife. He thinks it's the only way to stop the flashes. So Jin looks at Locke with a shocked look on his face and says, bring Sung back? Why you bring her back? And Locke replies, because she never should have left.
Okay, yeah, that answers everything. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah,
Locke.
thanks, Locke. Man,
thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, got it. Great. What's the next step?
So we're back in the present, off the island, and Sun still has her gun pointed at Ben when she says, I've spent the last 3 years thinking, believing he was dead. You say you have proof that he's not. I want to see it. Ben wants her to put the gun down, but she ignores him and asks again how he knows Jin is alive. Ben says, there's someone here in Los Angeles. Let me take you to them, and I'll show you the proof. Son wants to know who, and Ben says it's the same person who's going to help them get back to the island. Kate hears this and immediately turns to Jack and says, oh, is this what this is about? You knew about this? And that's why you're pretending to care about Aaron to convince me to go back there?
Woo!
That was kind of fucked
pissed.
up.
Yeah, she got really pissed. I don't think that was fair to say he's pretending to care about Aaron. But from Kate's point of view, she's just found out in a matter of moments that her babysitter has brought her son to a hit. And
big time negative Yelp review about to come.
Yeah, right.
Up from you.
And she's being like lured back into another plane crash on a magical island. I can imagine if I was her, I'd be like, son of a bitch.
No, Sawyer would be like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Kate would be like, I'm running away.
Yes.
Again.
Which is exactly what she fucking does.
Yeah.
So Jack is trying to explain that he wasn't pretending anything when Kate says, this is insane. You guys are crazy. She turns and leaves, and Saeed follows after turning to Ben to say, I don't want any part of this. And if I see you or him again, it'll be extremely unpleasant for all of us.
Saeed. Also, can I just say that Kate's hair in this scene is like, that's like aspirations to get my hair that length and looking like that. It's fucking gorgeous.
Your hair's already that length.
No, it's not. Her hair, it was down to her waist. I'm going there. I'm a few inches away from having it reach my waist at its longest point because it's like layered in the front. But yeah, I'm almost there.
So Ben turns to Son, who still has a gun on him, and says, 30 minutes. Son, we could be there in 30 minutes, and you'll have proof that he's alive, or you can shoot me and never know. Son replies, let's go.
All right.
Good old Ben keeping himself alive.
Boy. Yeah,
Let's
he
go
always.
on an adventure.
Ben, Ben is like the most adaptable person
Yes.
I've ever encountered in, fiction. He really just manages. He thinks quick. I think he probably is somebody that just has like contingency plans for his contingency plans. And so he just like, if this happens, then I do this. And so he's just always like.
So he'd be good at chess.
I was just thinking he's probably a hell of a chess player.
Yeah, right. It would be that type of thinking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, probably good at improv as well. Probably good jazz musician. Yeah.
Yeah, anything on the fly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So somewhere in time on the island, the time travelers are trekking through the jungle, and Jin wants to know how much further, and Locke tells him, just over the ridge. So Jin wants to leave the island with Locke, but Locke tells him it's a one-man job and then promises to bring Sun back. Daniel checks in with Charlotte, who seems to be struggling. He wants to know if she speaks any other languages, and she tells him Klingon.
Well, that's
Which
hot.
I do believe that she probably speaks Klingon. She's kind of a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's worried this isn't going to work, so Faraday says it does make empirical sense that this started at the Orchid, so that's where it's got to stop. But as far as bringing back the people...
Does that make empirical sense? Is that what that does?
Empirical, yes.
Okay, sure. Daniel.
He had to add that word for it to sound scientific. That's
Yes.
it.
Okay.
But as far as bringing people back, the people who left in order to stop these temporal shifts, that's where we leave science behind.
Oh, that's where.
Yes. That doesn't make any empirical sense.
I think we left science behind about 5 seconds into episode 1, season 1.
Yeah.
So Charlotte stumbles and the humming and light begins, and she screams, oh no. So we're somewhere else in time. The group jumps, and before they can recover from it, the humming and light are going again. Charlotte screams in pain. So yeah, they're obviously going a lot faster now.
Yeah. Not good.
So we're somewhere
Apparently.
else in time still, and the entire group is holding their heads in pain, and Charlotte collapses. Daniel is tending to Charlotte when Sawyer notices that Juliet has a nosebleed because she wouldn't notice herself.
No, you don't do that.
Oh, and
no, but
Juliet also points out that Sawyer's nose is bleeding as well because nobody can feel their
Son
nose
of a
bleeding.
Later on in the episode, Miles does feel it himself.
you're right. He's the
Yeah.
only one who notices his own. He probably had a dead person whispering to him.
Yeah.
Your
Your
nose
nose
most
bleeding.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Daniel's trying to wake an unconscious Charlotte when she suddenly starts speaking in Korean. Sawyer asks Jen what she said, but before he can answer, Charlotte looks at Jen and says in English, "Don't let them bring her back. No matter what, don't let them bring her back. This place is death."
Oh, fuck.
So we're back in the present off the island, and Jack and Son are riding in Ben's van. She comments it's been 30 minutes, and Ben says, "I didn't account for traffic."
Oh my God. I can't
like
even with you,
traffic.
Ben. And I also feel like you should always account for traffic in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Like,
seriously.
Yeah.
you have to do that here in Seattle, and I think it's much worse there.
It is.
Anytime I'm going anywhere near Northern Virginia, I'm just like, yeah, I could be there in an hour.
Oh,
I could be there in 3. Who knows?
Yeah, Northern Virginia that surrounds DC is like one of the worst places to have to drive.
Pretty
ever.
much the entire DC Beltway area is fucking garbage.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why you park outside and take the metro.
Yeah.
So Jack tells Son that he's sorry, and she curtly replies, "Sorry for what?" He says, "For leaving Jin behind. When we landed that chopper on the boat, everything was just happening so fast. I knew he was down below. I should have waited for him." Son wonders if Jack's motivation for telling her this now is to keep her from murdering Ben if he's lied. Jack replies, "After what he did to Kate, if you won't do it, son, I will."
Oh.
So Ben slams on the brakes, pulls the van over, and one of his rare times of getting mad, shouts,
Yeah.
"What I am doing is helping you, and if you had any idea what I've had to do to keep you safe, to keep your friends safe, then you'd never stop thanking me. You want to shoot me? Then shoot me. But let's get on with it. What's it going to be?" And so they stare at each other for a moment, and Son says, "Drive."
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I
Picture-
think that they knew, he knew that they weren't going to shoot him, that they wanted to, see this part of it through anyway.
Yeah, he's got some leverage over
Yep.
both of them at this point. Well,
Always.
I mean, Son even more so because he's like, I can get you to Jin. With Jack, the leverage isn't so much like something bad is going to happen if you don't do this. It's more just like Jack has basically given up on life and just wants to go back to the island. Yeah.
We are still somewhere in time on the island, and Charlotte is lying on the ground with the rest of the time travelers surrounding her. In a childish voice, she says, "Why can't Daddy come with us?" Then in an annoyed adult voice, she says, "You know what my mom would say about you marrying an American?"
Oh, my.
And she follows that up with a suddenly confident voice saying, "I know more about ancient Carthage than Hannibal himself."
Whoa, whoa.
Whoa, well.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess that that's what our fun facts are going to be about.
Carthage?
They're not.
Oh.
Okay.
They're not. You're wrong.
Oh.
That would have been a good choice, though.
That would have been.
Yeah.
Sawyer wants to know what the hell she's talking about, but Daniel has no idea. Locke says they need to move, but when Faraday looks for help carrying Charlotte, Locke says to leave her. Sawyer mentions that the flashes are getting closer and thinks that Daniel's nose were bleeding. Maybe he'd have more haste. Charlotte tells Daniel to let them go without her, but he refuses just as the humming and light begin. So somewhere else in time, Sawyer screams hell, and Locke says they need to move now. Charlotte tells Daniel that Locke is right, they need to go. Daniel's trying to protest, but then suddenly Charlotte says, Oh, turn it up. I love Geronimo Jackson. Daniel tells the group he's staying with Charlotte. Sawyer says, "Let me ask you something, John. If we don't even know where the hell we are, or when the hell we are, what happens if the orchid ain't around anymore?" In a clear, almost knowing voice, Charlotte says, "Look for the well. You'll find it at the well." What? Huh? A puzzled Sawyer says, "I'll be sure and do that." Locke says, "Let's go," and the team leaves Daniel and Charlotte behind. Nice, Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel's good guy. Taking care of Charlotte.
He loves her.
Yes.
He does.
So a bit later, Team Orchid is trekking through the jungle when a dead person tells Miles his nose is bleeding, and he quietly notices that it is bleeding. They arrive, and Juliet says, "Thank God. What are the odds that we would end up at the same time as this thing?" And I knew exactly what would happen next.
Damn it,
The humming
Juliet.
and the light. So we're somewhere else in time, and of course the Orchid Station has disappeared, and Sawyer says, you just had to say something. Locke notices something behind the group. It's an old stone well with a rope hanging down. As Locke peers into the well, Miles says, how did hell did Charlotte know this was here? Yeah, Miles, how did she? So back by the stream, Charlotte is coughing and doesn't look well. She says, I've been here before. Daniel is confused, and Charlotte continues, I grew up here on the island, and there was this thing, this Dharma initiative. What? And then I moved away.
So if she grew up on the island, but not part of the Dharma initiative.
Then who was she?
She's like a native?
She's another.
An other? She's an other?
Other.
Other?
And then I moved away with my mom, just my mom, and I never saw my dad again. And then I got back to England. I would ask my mom about this place, but she said that it wasn't real, that I made it up. That's why I became an anthropologist, to find this island again. It's what I've been searching for my whole life. Daniel doesn't understand why she's telling him this, so she says, because I remember something now. When I was little, living here, there was this man, a crazy man. He really scared me. And he told me that I had to leave the island and never come back. He told me that if I came back, I would die.
What?
Daniel says, Charlotte, I don't understand. And Charlotte looks at him and says, Daniel, I think that man was you.
My heart broke just a little bit right there.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel gives the Daniel side eye.
Yes, most epic Daniel side eye of the series thus far. What the fuck? Oh, because we all know in that moment that somewhere in Daniel's future, he's going to go back in time and tell her not to come to the island or she'll die. And we already know that she didn't listen. And there she is.
We already know that he had already gone back in time because in the first episode, he was down in the shafts or whatever, and he gave that exact same look to that stone wall.
Yep, you're right. So you're thinking, when we saw him with the canister, that might have been the same trip he talked to Charlotte as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now I want to know who's her dad.
I know. It
Who's
sounds almost like mom took her off the island and maybe left dad there.
Yeah.
So I suppose we can assume he's either still there with Richard.
Maybe it is Richard.
Maybe he is Richard.
Bum, bum, bum.
She did not get her eyes from him. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
I was going to say, or he was killed in the purge, but he's not. He wasn't Dharma Initiative. I guess we don't really know that though,
We
right?
don't know. No.
She grew up there. Maybe mom had an affair with a Dharma guy. We don't really know. Could be, or he could still be there. Interesting. I wonder if we'll find out.
If his name is Greg, that's going to be amazing.
Why?
Why?
Dharma and Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. God. I was like, Greg Dennis? That doesn't make sense. Fuck.
So
All
at
right,
the well, Locke is testing the rope. He tells him he's going down there, and Sawyer says, you expected a Subway?
Eat fresh.
Yeah.
Ew.
Jared's down there. Just keep
Jared's down there pounding kids.
Yep. Yeah, Locke's too old for him.
Oh my God. You guys, have you ever watched a documentary about him and listened to the recordings? His
They have a
girlfriend
documentary about him?
Yes, his girlfriend became an FBI informant and recorded him talking about what he wanted to do to children, and you can hear it, and it is sick as fuck.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Does he tell us how much it is for a 6-inch sub this Sunday at Subway?
Yeah.
No.
He gave him 6 inches.
Oh,
Ew.
God, that's
God.
disgusting. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He actually most of what he went to prison for was like planning and attempting to do these things.
So he never actually did it?
Well, yes, he did. There were some children but what I'm talking about, like the stuff that he talked about with his girlfriend, he was talking about raping like 2-year-olds.
What?
And yeah, like really fucking disgusting. And that didn't happen. But there were other incidents.
Hopefully
with
his cellmate, gives him a foot long at least every night.
Oh God. But there were things with like preteens and like young like teenagers and things like that. But he wanted to like rape little children. Like it's disgusting, and you can hear him saying it.
I don't want to watch that documentary.
Yeah, I know.
it was
I'm
really,
the same way.
It was really gross. I watch every documentary that comes out, especially true crime ones. I can't remember what platform it's on, Derek, but I'll look it up and let you know. But anyway, so when people joke about him, like I get particularly sick because I've actually like heard it from his mouth, his fantasies, and they are not.
Because wasn't he a guy that like lost weight eating just Subway, and they made him a spokesman? Is that how he became?
Yeah, like his life was really crazy. Yeah, and then what happened was once he had money and power, he started to think that he could indulge in these sick fantasies that he had.
Like a lot of people with money and power do.
Yep, exactly.
Epstein.
And he shared, what happened was he shared some of it with his girlfriend, and she was so freaked out, she called the FBI, and they had made her an informant, and she started recording their phone calls.
Wow.
And all of his fantasies. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And that's how he ended up in prison. And good for her, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Locke says his goodbye and that he'll see everyone when he gets back. Jen freaks and says, "No, stop. You don't bring Son back." Locke says he has to because that's how it works. Jen threatens to cut the rope in the well and make Locke promise not to bring Son or his baby back to the island. Locke promises, and of course that's going to work. So Jen lets go of the rope. Locke wants to know what happens if Son wants to come back, and Jen says, "You tell her I dead. You say I wash up, you bury me."
Oh, my God.
He takes off his wedding band, hands it over, and says, "Proof."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that broke my heart, too.
Oh, it's just so, oh, no.
He just doesn't want her to come back for good reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, those are kind of the choices that you would have to make if you truly loved someone and wanted the best for them. It might not be the best is to be with you. It might be the best for me to be safe somewhere else. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to wrestle with that. Like, do I want to be selfish and be with them? Or do I want to try to protect them?
Yeah. It's like in Blade Runner 2049 when Ryan Gosling's character is talking to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford says, "Sometimes to love somebody, you have to be a stranger to them." And it was like, oh, man, like that's a...
Yeah, it's tough. Those are impossible choices.
So Locke takes the ring and hoists himself up onto the well wall. Juliet thanks him in advance if this works. Locke swings onto the rope and begins to descend, hand over hand, as the others peer down after him. He's halfway down the well when the sound of an approaching flash begins. Miles says, "Uh-oh." The sounds become more intense, and a bright light emanates from the well bottom. Locke is struggling as Sawyer grabs the rope to pull him up, but it's too late. The light engulfs him, and Locke falls into it. Yeah, what if the well just didn't exist at all, and like he was just in the ground,
trapped in dirt? Yeah,
I wonder this with almost every single time they phase through time. All of a sudden, one of them is just quiet, and they turn around. They're like half in a tree with their petrified with their arms sticking out, like.
Yeah.
Anything, just a weed. You're walking, and all of a sudden, there's a weed that's inside your calf. Like
what happens with the fly. He teleports into like the machine. He's like past the machine.
Exactly.
Well, and have you guys? I know you guys have watched, or at least a couple of you have watched at least the first season of From.
Yes. Yeah,
they talk about the faraway trees, and they're like, sometimes you end up somewhere good, and sometimes you could end up inside of a mountain.
Yeah.
Well, the one guy ends up in like what looked like a well, basically. Yeah. We have seen From. You know what? True Detective season 4, episode 1 is out. We watched it. It's fucking great.
It's fucking good. It's
you
really
saw it
good.
already too. Oh, it's so good.
And now there was one woman in it, the woman out on the ice late at night.
Yep. And she's in a lot of stuff.
She's in a lot of shit.
I kept going, who the fuck is she? Who the fuck is she? She is Aunt Petunia in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah. She is. Yeah. She's one of those actresses who, actor or actress who you recognize their face in a lot of shit, but you don't always know like who they are, which would be my ideal acting job, to not be super famous, but to be working constantly.
Yeah.
Like you're not, the paparazzi doesn't care about you, but you're still like a constant like working actor.
Movies. Yeah.
Was Aunt Petunia one of the worst kind of muggles? Wasn't that like
Yes.
Yeah, she was Harry Potter,
right.
like the aunt and uncle that he lived with in the closet.
In the closet.
Dursleys.
Yeah. But yeah, episode 1, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it
was really great.
It set up the season.
What's this called?
Well, True Detective.
True Detective season 4. Night Country is the name of the season.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the seasons,
Nope.
Derek?
Oh,
God,
dude,
you would love
just
it.
watch season 1. Just watch it. And if you don't think it's one of the best seasons of television ever, then
Really? Okay.
we'll have a discussion.
Yeah,
it is incredible. It is my favorite season of television ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, season 1 is definitely
amazing.
Yeah, it's a pinnacle. So the 4 seasons, it's 4 different stories. Derek, the first one stars Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson as cop partners, and they're solving a crime. And that description sounds kind of lesser, but
it's so
you just have to
great.
go with it. It's very dialogue heavy, really, really just like amazing.
Philosophical.
Cool.
It's the best Matthew McConaughey performance, I think, ever. He's incredible.
Yeah.
So, but then they became executive producers and they did more seasons, but each season follows police in different situations. So season 2, they follow 4 cops investigating, well, a couple things, but
three cops, but there's other main characters in there.
You're right. Sorry. 4 main characters, 3 cops, and then what's his face? And then the third season, again, it's Vince Vaughn. Thank you. The third season, again, it's like 2 cops, and it sort of has ties to the first season.
It takes place in Arkansas in the 80s.
Yeah, this is season 4, and just 1 episode came out. It started Jodie Foster.
Thing?
No, HBO.
HBO.
It's HBO Max.
Oh.
It's just called Max now, but it's HBO.
The one streaming thing I don't have.
Well, you should get it. It's worth it.
Yeah,
we got rid of Netflix like a year ago, and I don't miss it, but HBO
Not
is
at all. HBO I watch. Yeah, Max is by far. It doesn't just have HBO stuff either. They've got like all the HBO shows that have ever been on, some movies, but they've also bought up a bunch of other shows and things like that.
Do they still have the Cinemax After Dark stuff on it?
No,
I don't know
HBO.
if it's associated with Cinemax at all.
The soft-core porn from the 80s?
They just called it. They just called their app Max for some reason. But yeah, so season 4 of True Detective takes place in an Alaskan town where the sun goes down and doesn't come up for a month. And it stars Jodie Foster, and there's sort of supernatural sort of overtones to seasons 1 and 3. Not so much in season 2. It's more of a gritty cop thing. But this one looks to be like full of supernatural stuff, considering the first episode. But I would recommend just start with season 1 and watch all the way through. They're all worth it. They're all fucking great. But yeah, anyways. Whew. We're never getting through this episode today. I don't know what the fuck is going on. We're about to hit an hour.
Well, you did poop once, so that took a couple minutes.
Yeah. We're not really that far in because we restarted in the beginning too.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So we're in 1867 or earlier. Not sure how we know that, but
I got it from Lostpedia. It comes up later.
Oh, okay.
That they're way back in time.
Yeah, see, I started to read that when we first started this, but there's too many chances of spoilers in there, so I quit.
Yeah, don't.
Like if you click on a character to read more, then it starts telling all their history. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're somewhere back in time, and Locke's body lands on the rocks at the bottom of the well. He screams in agony because, of course, a leg got broken. Above, Sawyer's clenched the rope tightly with his eyes shut. Miles says, I think you can let go of that now.
Oh my God, Miles.
I do like Miles' little one-liners. Sawyer opens his eyes to see the end of the rope buried in the dirt with no sign of the well. Sawyer flips out and starts clawing at the dirt with his fingers because he's definitely going to dig deep that way.
Yeah, sure.
He's frantically begging the rest to help him, but Juliet calmly says, James, stop. James, we can't help him.
We need Vincent.
Then Ana Lucia shows up.
Him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vincent and Ana Lucia come in. She's like, I'll have him out in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep.
The ghost of Ana Lucia digs a hole in like 3 seconds.
Yeah. So by the stream, Charlotte is coughing up blood and looks like she's about to die. Daniel's trying to comfort her by telling her he went to the hash and told Desmond to find his mother. She can help us, Charlotte. She will help us. Charlotte is confused as to how Daniel's mother could possibly help them, but then coughs up more blood. She looks at Daniel and says, hey, listen. And then, in the voice of a mischievous child, Charlotte says, I'm not allowed to have chocolate before dinner, just before she dies.
Whoa.
And sad Daniel quietly says her name a few times and then weeps over the body.
Bye, Rocky.
Yeah, that's really
poor little
sad.
Daniel.
Yeah, that is actually incredibly sad. And what interesting last words to have.
No chocolate before dinner.
No.
So
she must have been like zapped somewhere she was a child, I guess, when she died. Then.
Sometimes I think people will say things as their brains finally letting go, like memories random memories can just come back.
Not only that,
yeah.
But the lady who Desmond went to visit after he was at Oxford, sometimes she was there and sometimes she wasn't.
And I would say sometimes she was 3 years old or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think it was more of that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the more times they flashed, the more Charlotte was becoming like the people who were stuck in traveling in time.
Yeah.
That was the way I read it. But Ben, I mean, you're correct. Like scientifically, the whole concept of having your life flash before your eyes is potentially fairly accurate and true, because we have DMT in our body. And when the brain starts to die, it releases enough DMT to make you hallucinate.
Trip, basically.
And
what is DMT?
Yeah.
Ooh,
so it's the chemical compound that's in like ayahuasca.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what LSD, I can never say.
Lysergic acid diethylamide.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. DMT, it's dimethyltryptamine. And like, it's a psychedelic drug. If you're to take it with DMT, usually it comes in like little vaporizer like cartridges. You inhale it and you'll trip for about 30 minutes or so. But there have been people who use DMT who, in that 30 minutes, they like, it feels
claim to have
them,
lived an entire life.
Yeah, like they lived an entire life somewhere else in like 30 minutes. And there are people who are like, yeah, I was part of this other civilization. Or some of the really common things that people see is like they're out in space and they meet these, like, some people call them aliens or some like universe guides. And a lot of people report sort of the same stuff. So some people believe, that actually takes you to another universe. That's a pretty big fucking leap. But
that sounds fun.
Yeah, if you're ever going to do it, I haven't done it yet, but I do plan on trying it. We have a friend who has those cartridges. We just haven't done it yet. But I think like the best thing to do is do it either in pairs or in fours, and one person does it and the other person stays sober. So you have a babysitter just in case you have any issues. But typically, most people say it's a positive experience, just like any psychedelic. You could obviously have a negative one.
That's why I've never done any psychedelics. I don't like stuff messing with my mind.
Yeah, well,
like seeing shit and.
So when you're dying, your mind messes with your mind, and so what happens is like the brain releases these chemicals that are always in your body, but it produces more very quickly, I guess. And so when you are dying, it actually could feel like your life was flashing before your eyes. You could just go back through and live your life again, and then die. That's a possibility. I mean, the thing is, how do you measure that because the end result is death? But, hypothetically, that could actually happen because of DMT. Isn't that wild?
That is.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. It's also not the fun facts, or not on DMT.
So at the bottom,
this episode feels like a lifetime. Jesus.
I know.
I know.
Before my eyes.
Oh, my God. Sorry, guys.
At the bottom of the well, Locke is still screaming in pain. He looks down to see a nice compound fracture with the bones sticking out of the skin.
That's nasty. That was a horrible shot.
And his leg is seriously injured.
Yeah.
Doesn't he wish he was handicapped right now because he wouldn't feel it?
Oh.
Uh-huh. It's always his legs, though, isn't it? Yeah.
It is,
symbolically, it's always his legs.
His poor legs just getting...
Yeah.
So he's yelling to the other time travelers when he hears footsteps approaching. A figure in the shadows lights an old lamp and then turns around, revealing himself to be none other than Christian fucking Shepherd.
What?
Huh? Locke is confused and asks what he's doing down there. Christian says, I'm here to help you the rest of the way. You came to see me in the cabin. You asked me how to save the island, and I told you had to move it. I said that you had to move it, John. Locke protests that Ben told him he has to stay to lead the people. So Christian says, when did listen to him get you anywhere worth a damn?
Oh my God, Locke, you're being razzed by the ghost of Jack's father. Yeah. How have you gotten into this situation?
The good news is that you're here now. You ready to go? Locke is scared and unsure of what he's supposed to do once he's off the island. Christian tells him that there's a woman in Los Angeles who will tell him.
Oh my God.
This woman in Los Angeles, man, she is popular.
Could it be?
Who will tell him exactly how to get back to the island once he's rounded up all his friends. Her name is Eloise Hawking. Bum, bum, bum.
This is actually the first time you hear her full name in the show.
So he's worried he won't be able to convince everyone, but Christian says he believes in him, which I'm sure Locke loves that.
Yes, showing.
Yep.
Don't tell me you can't do it.
Yeah. Locke mentions that Richard said he was going to have to die, and Christian says, well, I suppose that's why they call it sacrifice.
Wow!
Hey.
Wow! Oh, I love it.
So Locke says that he's ready, and Christian tells him that around the corner is a wheel off its axis, and all he has to do is give it a push. Locke winces in pain and asks for help, but Christian says he can't. Locke grunts
all
in
right,
pain.
asshole. Throw me all the fucking insults. You can't even help me 6 feet.
What kind of ghost are you? Yeah.
What the hell, man?
Locke grunts in pain as he stands and limps to the wheel chamber. There are pulses of very poor CGI green light illuminating the space. The wheel is trying to rotate forward, but skips backwards, seemingly stuck in place. Locke grabs one of the wheel's arms and moves it, and the wheel suddenly lurches forward and throws Locke towards the wall. As the light begins to fill the room, Christian says, say hello to my son. Locke calls out, who's your son? But before he gets an answer, the room turns white.
And he just says, who's your daddy?
I'm your daddy.
So if you're going to, if and we don't know who built this machine, but if you're going to build a machine that fucks with time, right? We're going to build a machine that has these existential sort of effects. Don't skimp on fabrication.
And they really did.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like bouncing up and down and back and forth. Like that thing needs to be like machined to a very, very fine tolerances.
Okay, but remember,
built,
he was, I mean, it was already there in 1867. So let's think about when
they had
this might actually have been built.
And there were symbols on the wall that looked pretty old.
There were amazing things built in antiquity.
Yeah, look at the pyramids.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, that was aliens.
Oh, wait, that's ancient aliens. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Clearly.
Yeah.
Duh.
They actually have there's a whole series called that too.
Yeah,
Ancient aliens, I know.
Like, really?
It's so fucking stupid.
So we're in the present off the island, and Ben's van labeled Canton Rainier Carpet Cleaning pulls into the parking lot of a church. They exit the vehicle, and Ben stops and faces son. He hands her Jen's wedding ring and says that Locke gave it to him after Jen gave it to Locke before he left the island.
Oh my God. Jen gave him the ring as evidence that he was dead, so she wouldn't come back, which would have happened anyway had she not been given the ring as proof of life, so that now she wants to go back.
Yep. Didn't work out the way Jen planned it. Thanks to Ben.
Ben is good at twisting shit to, his own purpose.
That's why he's your number one, right, Christy? Number one most liked?
Doubtful.
No, doubtful. So Jack is annoyed, claiming that Ben and Locke never came to see him. Ben says, that's true, Jack. I went to see him.
Ooh, God damn it, Ben.
Technicality.
Yep. Son is confused and wonders why Locke didn't tell her himself. Ben says, I don't know. Maybe he never had a chance before he died. I'm sorry I had to bring you here before I gave it to you, son. But all those people back on the island, Jen included, need our help. There's a woman in this church, and she can tell us how to get back to your husband. But we're running out of time, son, so I need you to decide right now. Will you come with me? Son pauses and looks at the ring before agreeing. Just then, the familiar Scottish voice says, what are you doing here, brothers?
Oh, snap! Desi's here.
And they all turn to see Desmond, and Ben says, I assume the same thing you are. Desmond asks the group if they're also there to find Faraday's mother. Ben stares at Desmond for a second, and then without a word turns and walks into the church. The rest follow, and waiting inside them is none other than the creepy time travel lady. Ben says, "Hello, Eloise." She lights a candle, faces the group, and says, "Hello."
Wait, stop for a second. He says, "Hello, Eloise." Then they cut to Desmond's face for a second, and I fucking love it because you can see on his face all at once, holy fuck. Faraday's mother, right?
Before.
Faraday's mother is the woman from The Constant. Yep. And also her name is Eloise. Did he name his rat after his mother? It's like it's all on his face at one time. And I fucking love it.
So she lights a candle, faces the group, and says, "Hello, Benjamin. I thought I said all of them." Ben says this is all he could get on short notice, and Eloise Hawking sighs and says, "Well, I suppose it'll have to do for now. All right, let's get started." Lost title screen, end of episode.
I love it. I love her. Does anybody else love the creepy time travel lady? And I like her in both times.
I really liked her in the past.
Yeah, I love like sassy, strong, gun-wielding Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but she's also fucking awesome as creepy time travel lady.
A gilf.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Yep.
Gilgamesh me.
All right. Yeah, so the history of Carthage. I'm kidding.
Actually, that wouldn't have been a bad one.
It's pretty interesting, yeah.
No, it wouldn't have been a bad one, but I went with one that I thought would make me happy and everyone happy because it's about flowers. Because Locke is obsessed with getting to the orchid, so today we're going to talk about orchids, one of the coolest flowers out there. So, orchids are the world's second largest flowering plant family. I think it was next to the daisy. There are around 28,000 known species of orchid. Is that fucking crazy? It's thought that there could be many rainforest species that have just yet to be discovered. Orchids are highly promiscuous. They will hybridize with all kinds of other flowers. So there are actually a further 192,000 different hybrids listed in the International Orchid Register.
Ooh.
Let's.
Only Antarctica, some desert countries, and a handful of very isolated islands don't have any native orchid species. They grow in a huge variety of habitats, from Arctic tundra to tropical rainforests, and from swamps to mountaintops and desert-like environments, just not strictly desert. Because of this, it is thought that orchids have been around since before Pangea split, and that is why you find them everywhere.
That makes some sense.
Yeah. So they take 5 to 7 years to bloom once germinated and can live up to 100 years old. And this little fact kind of blew my mind. But those orchids that you see like in the grocery store, they are already decades old before they are there for you to purchase.
Huh.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. So unlike most seeds, orchid seeds contain no food store. So normally seeds have their own food inside them, and that's how they're able to germinate and grow. So orchids don't. And so the seeds are the size of dust, and they rely on fungi to germinate. So without mushrooms, we would not have orchids. The seeds will parasitize a mushroom and feed off of it in order to grow. Isn't that cool? One orchid seed pod can contain up to 3 million orchid seeds. Around 70% of orchids are epiphytic, which means they grow on the trunks and branches of trees. They have no contact with the ground, and they absorb all of their moisture that they need from the air, which is why you see a lot of times orchids where their roots are out of the ground or they're reaching into the air, because that's where they're capturing the moisture in that like spongy coating. You know, you can kind of squish the root. And that coating is called the velamen, and that's what absorbs moisture into the roots. So orchids are known to be tricksy in the way their flowers form. You can often find orchids that look like other things. So one in particular is called the British bee orchid, and it has furry little flowers that mimic a bee. And its aim is to get an unsuspecting male bee to mate with the flower and pollinate it accidentally while getting his rocks off. This is known as pseudo-copulation. And unfortunately, the bee receives no reward for his efforts other than, I suppose...
He finishes.
I don't think bees have orgasms, but... All right, so whether you know it or not, every single one of you has eaten an orchid before, because the vanilla bean is actually an orchid seed pod. It's the only orchid that is grown as a commercial crop, and around half of the world's vanilla crop is grown in Madagascar, which would be a really cool place to go. All right, what do you think about orchids?
Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't know they were that long.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize that
other
either.
Than trees live that long.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty long lasting. And some of them can be really finicky. They're actually really hard to grow. You have to be kind of like an expert horticulturist, home expert or whatever, to be able to grow them. My grandma, when she lived in Naples, outdoors, she had like trellis, and she was growing all different kinds of orchids there, and she was so good at gardening.
Do you know who else had an orchid garden?
No.
DMX.
I'm sorry?
DMX.
Like
the rapper.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Did somebody touch his orchids? Is that how he wrote that song?
No, I think that he developed the orchid garden afterwards as a way to help keep himself, calm.
Sure, I bet
he would go. Yeah, he would go spend time with his orchids and take care of them and stuff.
Yeah, because you really do have to tend to them. It's not like a house plant that you just like set somewhere and water every once in a while. They're really complicated.
I have no plants.
They can be pretty simple. But the thing is, with the grocery store orchids, it always says to, once a week, put 1 ice cube on it or 2 ice cubes on it or whatever. Anybody who knows anything about orchids tells you, absolutely do not fucking put ice cubes in your orchids.
I've never even heard
ice
tropical,
cubes.
mostly. Yeah, because it melts a little
slower.
Like it's not like you're dousing the orchid roots in water.
But if you set it on a root, it would be like you were frosting it almost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can't be good. Yeah.
Yeah. People who know about orchids are like, don't put a fucking ice cube in there. So yeah.
Okay. Well, fun tips from Christy. Shall we move on? How about some best and worst? I want to hear from Ben first. What do you think, Ben?
I think my favorite moment. Oh, best and worst as in top 3 or best and worst moments?
Moments.
Okay. Yeah, I think my best moment was when Jin time travels and then ends up Sawyer finding him, and they end up saying, well, how did, I don't know what it is Sawyer says, but he's just all happy and whatever. And I thought that was a really cute moment.
It was, well, what do you say?
What do you say?
Something like that. Yeah.
The worst scene, I think, is probably on the beach where Danielle is basically forced to kill her baby daddy, and you can see the bodies of everyone else there. That I thought that scene was pretty grim. So yeah.
I had a quote for my best. It was just, all right, let's get started. Like, yes, let's do it. Let's go back to the island. My worst moment was actually, Ben brought it up earlier. It was when Ji-yeon's face was on the cell phone, and it was her mother calling. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it definitely irked the shit out of me, and so that's what I wrote down. Derek, what did you think?
My favorite moment was when Ben slams on the brakes and gets mad and tells Jack and Son he's been helping them and either shoot
don't
him
make
or
me
don't.
turn this car around.
Yeah.
I like that moment too.
That's what it reminded me of.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah. And it wasn't really a worse moment. It was just a sad moment. It was when, Rocky Dennis died.
Mm-hmm.
And poor Daniel, he was in love and he lost his girl.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like Charlotte was never anybody's favorite. I loved her.
I didn't mind her.
The first time
She
around.
grew on me.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't mind her either. It was just kind of fun to
Her
call
face,
her Rocky Dennis.
Well, yeah, I know, my God. But yeah, it actually it's pretty sad. Like the implications of that death, other than Daniel loves her and had to lose her. And we also know that
he was a crazy guy that warned her. Yeah.
Yeah, he did his best to stop it. It didn't do anything. And then also, wait a second, everybody's getting nosebleeds like in succession. Does that mean they're going to start dropping dead now? If this doesn't
apparently
stop,
that's what happens. It just gets worse and worse.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, everyone but Locke.
Yeah, Locke didn't get the.
Well, yeah, I mean, not yet. But yeah, I guess if Sawyer was getting it, then it should.
Yeah, there was
should
an
be
Outer
affecting
Limits
Locke.
episode years ago where this lady time traveled, and every time she went, her nose would bleed because she was like basically. Her brain was filled with the whole entire timeline that she went to because she changed it. She could change it, and
Oh, and so then when it
every time
all
would slam
changed in
into
her head.
like the whole timeline of whatever entered her brain at once, and eventually would kill you.
Oh my God, that's
Brain
crazy.
couldn't handle it.
Brain gape.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Brain gape.
Christy, do you have best and worst moments?
Yes. There were a lot of really beautiful moments in this episode. The reunion between Jen and Sawyer, I loved.
Yeah.
I loved Jen giving Locke his ring and making him promise not to bring Son back, even though that kind of backfired on him.
Yeah.
And Charlotte telling Dan that she thinks he was the creepy guy who told her not to come back to the island.
Mm-hmm. A lot of intense emotional scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for me, the worst moment was Charlotte dying, because it was just really sad that she died and that Dan lost his love.
Yeah. Shall we do some power rankings? Let's start with Derek. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, so for my worst, I didn't have a third worst. My second worst was Robert for wanting to kill his baby mama with the baby.
Yeah.
And the worst was Montan just for being a total douche. But he got what he deserved, got his arm ripped off, and whatever else the monster does to you down in the hole.
Yeah, another sort of it thing there with him getting his arm ripped off, getting pulled down a hole.
So my third best was Dan Faraday for staying with Charlotte, and those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Second was Ben Linus for his always planning ahead and ability to keep himself alive every time.
Yeah,
and my best
exactly.
was Locke for, he's sacrificing himself to save everyone, to stop the time slips. That's why they call it sacrifice, John.
What a great line.
And then fucking kill.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck Danielle, 1988 Danielle, and then I'm going to kill Montan, after the monster rips his arm off.
All right. We have similar things. I have in the bottom, I actually had Montan second worst for being a misogynistic pig, but I put Nadine at the top for just being dumb enough to wander off and get lost in a place that you've been on the shore for 10 minutes and then get captured by the monster and fuck everything up. And
there's this guy warning you, and you hear strange sounds. And
So I got really mad at
be
Nadine
good at a horror
for that.
movie.
As a first one to go.
Yes.
So then, at the top we had the same three, Derek, but I had them in different order. I also had Dan Faraday third for everything that you said. But then I had Locke second and Ben Linus on the top. I don't know. I mean, I guess I just thought Ben seemed more in control. Locke seems like I'm doing the best thing I can, but I don't really know what's happening. So that's how I ended up with him in second. I'm also going to fuck Rousseau, but I'm having a threesome with her and son. The gun-wielding ladies got me this week.
Oh.
And I am going to kill Montand by ripping off his other 3 extremities.
Why don't you just get his penis, too, while you're at it?
Well, I guess that could be symbolic since he appears to be a misogynistic pig. Yeah, that's me. How about Christy? What do you have for us today in the rankings department?
So it didn't occur to me to put Montand in the bottom. I didn't have anybody in the bottom, actually. In the top 3, in third, I had Dan Faraday. Second place, I have Jin. I think it was really noble of him to be willing to sacrifice spending his life with Sun to keep her safe.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in the top, I have Locke because although sometimes his drive, has gotten on my nerves, this time it wasn't about his destiny or anything. It was about helping these people.
I mean, in a way, it's about his destiny because he was told he was going to have to die, and he seems okay with that. But it's the fact that he understands that and he's still doing it.
Exactly. So, I am going to get in between Sawyer and Jin for a good fuck, and then I'm going to kill the smoke monster.
Really?
Okay. You're mad at the smoke monster?
Yeah.
Are you going to get oiled up with Sawyer and Jin? That could be fun.
I mean, Sawyer's always oily.
Yeah. You get within 6 feet of that guy. You start to get the oil all over you.
Yeah.
Flipping his hair around.
All right, Ben, why don't you give us yours and then update us?
In the worst, I just got all 3 French folks in the worst that are not Danielle. I got Nadine for being a red shirt fucking loser in third place. Second worst, I got Robert for, obviously being a weak-minded fool who tries to kill his baby mama. And the worst, we've got Montand because the dude just reeks of douche. At the top, for third best, I got Dan Faraday for, his sort of gentleness with Charlotte, with her kind of, going the way of the dodo. Second best, I've got Jin again, because I think he's acting, he's acting in what he thinks is the best interest of his wife, while trying to, just trying to make sense of things. He's putting his wife first, and that sort of streamlines his decision making, which I think is admirable. And then best, I've got Locke, just because even though he doesn't necessarily know what's going on, he's sort of steeled himself to okay, I got to die. I got to go do this thing. He's on his kamikaze, kamikaze run right now. So, yeah. I'm going to fuck the smoke monster because I think the smoke monster just needs some cuddles, really. I think all this other acting out is...
It's just frustrated,
It's just frustrated.
The smoke monster got fucked and killed in this episode.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right.
And as far as kill, I'm going to finish what the smoke monster started and kill Montand.
When Nadine wandered away, I didn't think she had wandered away. I thought she got snatched by the others.
That's what I thought at first too.
Oh, am I mad at her? Am I mad at her for nothing?
No, she probably wandered away because the smoke monster ended up getting her. It wasn't the others.
It wasn't.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
But yeah, when she first disappeared, I was like, oh, the others are silently snatching people again.
We go.
They do that. All right, Ben. How we had any change in our rankings? Maybe in the top. But I feel like
the bottom has stayed exactly
Aaron's
the same.
still in the bottom, isn't he?
Yeah,
what have we done? Oh my God.
Christy killed him, that's why.
No changes at all.
You
I was the only one. Yeah, I was the one.
Yeah, you're the only one who's baby murderer.
Oh my God.
No changes at all at the bottom. We've still got Aaron in third place, negative 23 points. Frogert in second with negative 29 points, and Charles Widmore as the worst with negative 32 points. We do have movement on the top, however. Locke has edged into third place with 29 points, knocking Hurley out of the top 3. Sawyer has moved from 34 to 37 points, but is still in second place. And Dan Faraday continues to hold the top spot, moving up from 49 points to 53 points.
Yeah, Dan Faraday. I feel like Locke hasn't held a spot in the top since like season 1, probably. Yeah, it has been a while. Well, good for you, Locke. All right. Let's do some final impressions and then say goodbye for today. How about Christy first? What did you think of This Place's Death?
I absolutely loved this episode. I thought that it was a very moving episode. There were so many beautiful, sad, lovely moments. It was just a really, really good episode.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I agree with you. And I don't have all of that in my notes. I feel like I've grown to love it even more. It's one of those times when we talk about it and I realize like all of those moments were kind of packed in there. I had originally thought, it's a good episode. I loved it, but that it still felt, like we're on this plateau, right? Like leading up to, or if it was a roller coaster, we're just coming to the top to, and then over the hill do they get on another airplane and crash? And so I saw it more like that, but I think I missed some of those really special moments that you just listed, and that I'm even appreciating the episode a little bit more after having recorded this podcast. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, similar. I remember watching, when I was writing notes, I actually didn't have a lot to write about the show. Specifically, I'm always usually finding little things that bother me here or there. Or, oh, that doesn't work. I didn't really find a whole lot in this one, but I did appreciate, and I think Christy said it best, like there's a lot of emotional moments here. It's a very sort of emotionally driven episode. Characters' decision-makings, their decision-making is really based on care for others, which you see in some of the episodes, but in this one, you see multiple characters doing it at the same time. So it feels like even Ben, for that matter, like he's lying, he's scheming, he's still doing his thing, but ultimately, like, when he points out, when he pulls this car over and he basically says, like, you have no idea what I've been doing. I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save all your friends. It seems like everybody, even though they've got their own ways of going about it, they're all trying to help one another. So
yeah, that's a good point about Ben, for sure. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Well, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. And also, even the more I think about it, I wonder if we got all of those sweet, good feeling moments so that Charlotte's death would feel even like worse. That wouldn't surprise me, because they do like to tug at your heartstrings up and down in this show. Derek, what did you think of This Place's Death? And did it make any new questions for you?
I thought it was a really good episode. The time slips are becoming a lot more frequent. There was some good, happy moments on the island, and there was, of course, a sad moment when Charlotte died. And we find out how Locke leaves the island with the help of Christian Shepherd. He just came out of nowhere again.
That's what he does.
Yep. Son finds out that Jin's still alive on the island, and Ben uses this to stay alive. Just a couple of questions, like, what's up with Christian Shepherd? Like, what is he? What's his place in all of this? And how did Locke die?
Okay. Christian Shepherd is showing up like a duck in a box.
Yep.
Duck in a box. Okay, great news. Derek, both of those questions will be answered. Who or what the smoke monster is going to be a little bit down the line. You only have to wait a few weeks to episode 7, The Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham, to find out how Locke died. So be excited, because your questions shall be answered, but not next week, because next week is actually episode 6. We'll be back on January 31st. It's a Jack episode. It's a Ben episode. It's called 316. Team Pendulum is ready to head back to the island, but will everyone agree? And do they make it there? Join us as we buy a ticket on Ahira Flight 316 next week. Woohoo! Woohoo! Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trimp. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook and SpaceBear_Media on Instagram and Threads. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube for extra video content. Or for everything in one place, go to spacebearmedia.com.